particular order. Number one, zero standards, or your standards are too low. If you do not raise your standards to a point of acceptability, then holding yourself back is the least of your worries. Number two, your standards should be based upon your values. And people who have a tendency to hold themselves back, if you will, they have underdeveloped values. So raise your standards and base them on good values. And what I mean by that, values: honesty, dependability, credibility, things that are necessary for you to be able to commit to your own personal goal. Number three, boundaries. Or should I say, displaced boundaries. I can't think of any situation or any time during human existence where it was not a good idea to have well-defined boundaries. Can you? But what I've noticed is that though people have boundaries where they place them, they have them in the wrong place. So make sure you place your boundaries in the right place. Standards, values, and boundaries. Top three. Number four, you can't show ID. You're in an identity crisis. People who, and all this, I know who I am, I'm just being me. What does that mean? Your ID means that you understand your strengths and weaknesses, and you not only build upon those strengths, but you address those weaknesses. You just don't accept them as a part of your personal flaws. You have to address those weaknesses to try to minimize them. Those individuals who have the identity crisis have a tendency to just drift with the wind. And when the wind shifts directions, then you shift with it. That's the problem with being in an identity crisis and not knowing really not just who you are, but what does that mean in terms of your actions and behavior and things of this nature. Fence straddlers. People who have a tendency to straddle the fence are in an identity crisis. And number five, you are incapable of committing. You have hyper distractibility. It's like a man who cannot commit to one woman, or one woman who cannot commit to one man. You have what I call ED. You're emotionally directed or emotionally driven. You should not allow your emotions to drive you in one direction or another. In other words, just because something does not go your way and your feelings begin to take over, that is not the time to quit. So you get on the scale and you didn't lose the weight that you wanted to lose. Is that the time to throw in the towel? Stop trying to quit and start trying to commit. Don't have your actions directed by your emotions. So let's go over it again. We have raise your standards. Develop your values, your core values. That's really important. You need to place your boundaries. Number one, establish some boundaries, and then have well-defined boundaries and place them where they need to be. Number four, your identity, who you are, has a lot to do with what you do and what you don't do. Again, that's where boundaries are important. Your name has very little to do with who you are and who you're related to, and or where you work. Who are you becoming from a behavioral standpoint? Your actions. You might even ask someone else about your identity, someone you can trust to talk to you about that, someone who's not out to do you in, and they can be honest with you. And then finally, you want to be able to commit. You want to be less distractible. You do not want to be a fence straddler, which will allow you to focus, stop looking for reasons to quit, get you a real good, strong why to commit. You do these things, you practice these things on a day-to-day basis, put it somewhere where you can refer to it, and you will eventually look up and you will have gotten out of your own way. My name is Jay Jackson, and I welcome your response.